in the last year, me putting events and I had a gun pulled out on me 3 times. Yeah, I think my initiation ceremony when I moved on to this estate was I was watching these kids playing football and they decided to beat me up and then put dog shit down my back and rub it in. You go to other promoters' events, they'd be on the stage, sunglasses on, champagne, loads of girls around them, look at me, I'm the promoter. For me, I was like bulletproof vest, long coat, baseball cap, gloves, fucking heavy boots. I wasn't there to fuck about. Nobody's actually done an actual Essex Boys movie properly. Essex Boys, the film, was actually shit, right? The beef is from him, it's not from me. I don't need him to guarantee my safety. And I'm not going to pay anybody anything. I'd rather pay someone to fucking take you away.
Just a quick one. I want to thank our main sponsors, Bauer Security. They're a UK-based security firm that cover the entertainment, industrial, corporate and construction industries. I'm going to leave the links to their Instagram and their website below in the description so you can contact them direct. You can also find my own social media platforms down there too. And if you've got this far and you haven't yet liked and subscribed to the channel, can I ask that you do so? It takes 2 seconds, costs nothing, and it helps us improve the experience for the guests and for those at home watching. Thanks again. Your support is greatly appreciated and I hope you enjoy this one.
Terry.
Good to see you, Liam.
And you, mate, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on.
Now, the last 2 or 3 guests I've had on of a certain era, distinguished gentlemen, they've all been calling out John Fury.
Right.
So if this is your chance.
Right.
Is he on the list?
Do you know something? I'm actually, somebody bought me John Fury's book for Christmas and I'm halfway through it. And my personal views, I've never met him. Obviously, I love Tyson Fury. I love Peter Fury and I love John Fury. I've met Peter. I haven't met Tyson, but obviously I'm a big fan. But John, I think, is such a funny character. You know, he's a fighting man and obviously he can have it. I don't know whether he's just doing it as a bit of fun or whether he's actually serious about fighting. But I'm not calling John Fury out. You know what I mean? I might.
This is your opportunity.
But I might have a Misfits or a charity boxing match or something at some point. But that'd be more for fun and more for charity. But I'm not interested in calling people out.
Yeah, I've often wondered whether you're going to enter that Misfits arena because you've got a boxing pass, which we'll come to.
I am a misfit, so I would fit in quite well with that.
you fit the bill, and now you're big on social media. Now you've got your own podcast, which again we'll come to. We'll go for all of it: the childhood, the club promoting, the acting, the producing. We do the whole lot. So let's go back almost to the beginning because when I come on your podcast, you mentioned that your dad was abusive, and I picked up on it. I thought, okay, well we can discuss that when you come on mine because I don't think many people know that you come from school of relatively hard knocks.
Right.
You know, you're up in lights, you're leading role on all these big popular films, the Rise of the Footsoldier franchise, which is phenomenal, like fair play. You've absolutely nailed that. And you've had a real good life, but it didn't start. You didn't come out the womb into success.
Yeah, there was no silver spoon in my mouth.
From a council estate, yeah?
Yeah. So my mum and dad both just had normal jobs. And yeah, they went to work all day and, my nan sort of brought me up. And we've always been either living above a shop or on a council estate, so that's where I've come from. I mean, look, I think lots of people say, if you're on a council estate, you don't have the opportunities that other people have. I actually think that's bollocks. I actually think that the hard, because people talk about this white privilege, and to me, it's just fucking bullshit, right? When I was living on a fucking council estate and we had nothing, I wasn't walking around going, oh, look, I'm white and I'm privileged. I wasn't happy about my fucking circumstances, but I actually said to myself, I can actually fucking get off this estate if I want. I can actually achieve something if I want. If I put in hard work, and I did anything to earn £1 note, like anything. And I think one of the problems today is I read an article in the paper today, and they were saying that the problem with the kids now is they're focusing so much on mental health, and they're kind of just, if they feel a little bit low or they feel a little bit depressed or they feel like things haven't worked out, they're like spiraling into the depression and they're getting really upset about things. Whereas obviously when we grew up, you regularly got knocked. You regularly had the piss taken out. You regularly got fucking terrorised at school. You regularly, like, you know, didn't have the fucking new trainers, so everyone took the piss out of you. You know, I used to go to fucking Tesco's for my fucking clothes, right? You know, and people used to sing this song to me at school. Terry goes to Tesco's where we all buys his best clothes. Da, 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 da. And I fucking hate it. But, you know, that was, you know, and if you was, you know, foreign, or if you was an ethnic minority, you got fucking targeted because you was the only one, right? So it didn't matter. Everybody was terrorised equally, right? So there wasn't any sort of racism. There wasn't any, you know, it was like everybody's a target. You know, if you're posh, you're getting it. If you're middle class, you're getting it. If you're poor, you're getting it. You know, so it didn't matter. Everybody got it growing up. And I think what it did, it gave me resilience and it gave me ambition and it made me want to change. And I think anybody on a council estate, anybody that's hard on their luck at the minute, or anybody that's down on their luck at the minute, they have to sort of literally go, I can actually do this. And I think it's very easy to talk yourself into negativity. It's very easy to talk yourself out of opportunities. And I think that's one of the things that I think they should be teaching in schools. I think they should be teaching resilience. Because the problem is everyone's got a smartphone now, even like 10-year-old kids. And they're on social media, they're looking at all this stuff. You know, my daughter's 9, right? And she looks at her mum's phone, right? And she looks at TikTok, and she looks at YouTube. She's obsessed with skincare. And I'm like, you don't need to worry about skincare, right? You're 9. No, I've got to get this moisturiser and I've got to get this stuff. So you can see the effect that social media's having on people. They've got to look good. They've got to be slim. They've got to be attractive. They've got to have the new watch. They've got to have a new car. They've got to be on holiday. They've got to be living their best life, which is all bullshit, right? And I think that is why there is so many issues with mental health and people are, it's like they don't feel worthy. And then you have people showing off their wealth on social media and then they're getting turned over, right? And you're sort of like, well, you know, why would you go on social media and basically go, look at me? If you're going to use social media, this is what you've got to realise. There's a load of fake news. There's a load of fucking horrible people and they're just trolling people just for a laugh, right? And you've got to literally take everything with a pinch of salt. Marbella, right? In Marbella, there's 2 nice hotels. There's the Punta Romana and there's a Marbella Club. And if you stay in those hotels, they're expensive, right? I know people that actually go and stay in a 1-bedroom like Airbnb in Port Banús, or they go and stay in a 2-star hotel in Port Banús, and they get in a cab and they walk around the hotel taking pictures. I'm at my Marbella Club, sitting around the pool, yeah, just having a cocktail. And you just think, what's the fucking point? It's bullshit, right? You're not. Do you know what I mean? So they do it. So if they have to, they think, well, if I do this, then people will respect me. People will look up to me. People think that I'm living my best life. And the thing is, you know, out of, if you got 100 people, there's probably one person genuinely living their best life. Because there's no other reason. Why is there an epidemic of mental health issues now?
What was your mental health like when you was a kid? When you was looking up to your dad, or supposed to be looking up to your dad, and he behaved the way he did? Tell me, just explain how he treated you, what his behaviour was like, and how it affected you.
I think you've got 2 choices in life. You can be a survivor or you can be a victim. And I think the problem with being a victim is you're like spiraling into this kind of negativity, poor me, you know, and it's like you're blaming your circumstances for the position you're in right now. And I think everybody has the power, if they want, to actually change those circumstances. And, you know, when I grew up, you know, we didn't have any money. My dad used to knock me about. He was a drunk. You know, my mum and dad were out at work. I was sort of fucking abandoned. My nan brought me up. You know what I mean? So when you look at that, I could get violent and go, oh, poor me, you know, I got bullied at school, you know, poor me. But the reality is, all that stuff that I went through gave me the resilience, the drive and the desire to do what I did. I mean, you know, I left school with no qualifications. So if you'd have actually gone, look at this kid, his mum and dad split up when he was 13, he went off the rails, you know, he's been in the council estate, he's not got any qualifications, where's he going to end up? you'd have probably said he's going to end up fucking doing a menial job, or he's going to end up in jail. Nobody would have said he's going to fucking start running clubs all around the world. He's going to be an actor. He's going to be a film producer. He's going to do a podcast. But the thing is, I didn't set out to do any of these things. I didn't, I wasn't at school with rose-tinted spectacles going, when I grow up, I want to be a fireman. I just literally didn't know what I wanted to do.
Did you get bullied at school?
Yeah. When I was saying earlier about everybody got terrorised, they did. And obviously, when my mum and dad split up, I moved from where I was living to a new sort of town. So I was a new kid in town. So obviously you're an outsider, and then you kind of got to somehow get in. And I think it went on for like 3 or 4 years.
The bullying.
Yeah, and I think the problem is if you don't have, my dad was a coward, right? If he was actually a fucking man, he would have actually said to me, right, son, let's go and fucking bully these fucking bullies. He'd have gone man and knocked on the geezer's house and said, your son's bullying my fucking son, stop it, I'm going to fucking bully you. But he didn't, right? He didn't say to me, you should start boxing, you should do martial arts. You got to learn to take care of yourself, to put your hands up. So I took again, right? You can just fucking poor me, I'm a victim, or do something about it. And I decided to do something about it. So I went to the boxing club, I learned how to hold my hands up, and then I just started fucking bashing people up at school, and that wasn't because I wanted to fucking be a tough guy or anything. It was just because I was getting sick of fucking being bullied by these kids. And I just thought, fuck this. You're not helping me. I've got 2 choices. I just carry on just being bullied for the rest of my life or do something about it. And lots of people will say, oh, that's a bad thing. You should sit down and talk with them and give them a hug and all this shit. But, if you've got somebody fucking just walking up to you and punch you in the fucking stomach or punch you in the face for no reason and just laughing, and there's a group of them, that's not going to go away by saying, let's all sit down and talk about it. You've got to fucking deal with it. And the world we live in now, obviously, the fists aren't used anymore. The knives are being used more and more often. So maybe that approach now probably isn't advisable because somebody might end up fucking sticking a knife in you. But I think in life, what the bullying and what the it is abuse, right? When people say you're poor or they're taking the piss out of your clothes or saying your mum's fat or your dad's gay or, people say all this shit when you're at school, And I think you can listen to it all and let it affect you, or you can actually go, something, fuck you, I'm going to do something about this, right? And I wish my dad had been like that. I wish my dad had sat there and said, you don't have to publish shit, son. Bully these, fucking don't let them take liberties with you. Fucking stand up to them. If they say something about me, say something about their dad. If they want to have a fucking fight, go outside and have a fight with them. Even if you lose, it don't matter. The only reason they're doing it is because I don't think you're going to fight them.
But he was part of the bullying campaign,
he was,
wasn't he?
if you're pissed, if you're drunk and you come home and you start knocking your wife around, knocking your kids around, there's nothing fucking manly about that. It's like fucking dog behaviour. Do you know what I mean? So, and then my mum ended up divorcing him and being with someone else, and he was even fucking worse. So you just sort of, but I think back then when I was growing up, and bear in mind, we're talking about the 80s, right, and the 90s, right? No, actually, it was the 80s really. That was the and in the 80s, people did, go to the pub, get pissed. They should drive home pissed. And, they'd knock their wives around and knock their kids around. It was a normal thing. There was nothing weird about it. It wasn't like if you was at school and you said to one of your mates, oh, my dad fucking kicked me up the arse and fucking give me a good ironing the other night. He'd be like, oh, yeah, my dad done that to me. It wasn't like a weird thing. Now, if you did that, you'd probably end up in fucking jail because they'd be going, well, you can't put your hands on your kids. But back then, that was normal. And I think what I took from it all, a lot of people would say, oh, it's so negative and it's such a shame and all this, and you're a survivor and all this crap. But the reality is, I went through that shit and I had a choice. I could be a victim or I could be a survivor. And I choose not to be a victim. I chose to actually fucking do something about it and, bully the bullies. But then what it taught me in life was, life isn't going to be full of roses, right? People aren't always going to be nice. People haven't always got your best interests at heart. Somebody will come up to you and smile, look you in the face, and then in their mind, they're thinking, I'm going to do something to you if I can, the first opportunity I get. So, what it did for me as a person, I think it gave me resilience. I think it gave me ambition. just because you're not academic doesn't mean you're a failure. Just because you don't go to university means you're a failure. Just because you're not, all the popular kids in my school are all not popular now. All the good-looking kids in my school are all ugly now. All the guys who were the fucking tough guys at school now couldn't fucking fight to save their lives now. So when you're growing up through this thing, through childhood, the people that you look up to and go, he's really tough, she's really pretty, he's an amazing sportsman, he's so bright. When you actually see where they've ended up, a lot of those people haven't, because they get, I think it's about the ego. I think they get carried away with it. They think, yeah, I'm this and I'm that. And then that obviously lets them down later on. But I think if you come from nothing, you've got nothing to lose.
It's one way.
But that's what I mean. So anybody who is on that bottom tier, I would say to all of them, look, it ain't great because I've been there, but if you have a go, and that's the problem. A lot of people won't have a go because they're talking themselves out of it.
I think it's also a lot worse to be born into, let's say you're born into wealth and then you hit a real tough spot, or you're just an arsehole as a person and you're entitled and then you fall from grace. I mean, that's a long way down, and that's a hell of a drop to then bounce back. But if you're born from poverty and disruption,
yeah,
and sort of an imbalance within the house. Yeah, absolute madness and chaos. Like the only way is up. So you tend to appreciate a lot more stuff if you've had it tough from the get-go. And when you started boxing, obviously you've done that. You thought, fuck this, enough's enough. I'm going to go and bully the bullies. Did you ever lay your hands on your old man?
I wanted to beat him up. And I wanted to beat the other guy up as well. But bear in mind, I was like 13 years of age. I was at 13 when my mum and dad split up. And then I was like 15, 16 when she was with the other guy. And bear in mind, I was like 10 stone. So I was like a twig. So I might have been out of box, but I'm not going to be able to beat up a fucking 16 stone man. Do you know what I mean? And I do think the reason bullies do what they do is they're just, there's no other word to describe them. They thrive on being mean to people. They thrive on trolling people. They thrive on making people's lives miserable. And that's why I like making their fucking lives miserable. And there's been a couple of incidences on social media where these trolls have been trolling people. And then the people found out where I live and gone around their house and said, you got something to fucking say to me? And the geezer's come out and he's like going, got nothing to say. Well, don't fucking do it online then. Do you know what I mean? And then that's really the reality. Whatever's anyone's going to say to me, even to my face or on social media, I've heard it fucking 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So,
this is old hat.
It can't be any worse than that. Do you know what I mean? I think my initiation ceremony when I moved on to this estate was I was watching these kids playing football and they decided to beat me up and then put dog shit down my back and rub it in.
So whereabouts was this? London?
No, it was in Camberley, the Old Dean estate. But all this stuff that happened, again, in a weird sort of way, I'm sort of grateful for it because I think all of my friends that are wealthy or rich, I'd say there's only a small portion of them that have got normal kids that actually want to go to work and that actually want to emulate their parents' success. A lot of them, unfortunately, just get into this thing where they just end up taking drugs. They end up, with mummy and daddy's credit card, buying whatever they want. So, if you can have everything you want, to somebody who's living on a council estate, if someone said, I'm going to give you a credit card, you can buy whatever you want, they'd go, oh my God, that'd be amazing. I'd love to win the lottery. But the reality is, when that happens, what have you got to get out of bed for? What's the drive? What's the ambition? I don't feel like I've even started yet when I'm doing my stuff because I still feel that I've got so much more stuff to do and so much more stuff to offer. But the thing is,
that's a great attitude, man.
But the thing is, it's like as you're going through stuff, I didn't know anything about podcasts. I didn't know whether I didn't know. When I went into it, I didn't know anything about that. When I went into producing, I didn't know. So same with the promoting. So all the things I've done, I've gone into not knowing anything about. So I've not gone to a school and been taught. I haven't got A levels in this stuff. Do you know what I mean? So.
Well, let's come on to all of that. Let's go back to the boxing because people may have just seen you as Tony Tucker,
silly wig,
effing and jeffing, throwing your weight around, and people won't actually know that you are more than capable of actually looking after yourself. So how many, you had some bouts, didn't you?
I had 8 fights, 5 wins, 3 losses. The losses, one of them was to Richard Williams, who went on to be a world champion, and that was in the Surrey Schoolboys final. I think he'd had 86 fights or 87 fights, and I'd only had 3. And I see him like fight someone the week before, and he smashed this geezer at pieces. And even my trainer said, "Do you really want to fucking get in the ring with him?" I'm like, "I'm absolutely fucking going to get in the ring with him." And I think what that did, boxing does definitely give you confidence, right? And I think when I went into running the clubs, you know, you'd regularly be having like fucking tear-ups with people. So it did serve me in good stead. And again, if you look at everything that if you believe that the universe has a plan for you, right? And you look at my whole life, you can go, well, all the stuff that you've gone through as a kid has given you resilience. It's toughened you up. It's made you a non-snowflake, shall we say, right? And then you've done the boxing, so now you've got discipline in your life, because I didn't have any discipline, right? And you now, you know, have that boxer's mentality where you're not going to give up. You're going to keep going. If you get knocked down, you're going to get back up, like what Rocky said, right? So I think all of this stuff has literally lined me up. So as I've been going through life, what you could call the bad experiences have actually been the good experiences, because they've given me the resilience and the determination and the ambition to do what I'm doing.
Was working in McDonald's a good experience or a bad experience?
I think it was a good experience. Again, you know, at the time it was shit, because you know, £2.65 an hour, and you were like cleaning toilets, you were fucking walking up and down the high street picking rubbish up, people spitting at you, people throwing food at you. You know, it was like, let's go to McDonald's when we're pissed and just take the piss out of, you know, the guys in the brown fucking flares and the silly paper hats. You know, that was it. Now
that is going back, the paper hats.
Yeah, that was it. That was how I rolled back then. You know, brown flares.
I forgot about the paper hats.
Yeah, that was when you used to have styrofoam boxes, right, with the Big Mac boxes. But you know, again, you know, and someone said to me, you know, what did you learn about McDonald's? I said, I learned about working as a team, because you know, it sounds stupid, but when you go in there with your white badge, you have to learn. Sorry, no, it's a green badge, right? And you get a yellow badge when you passed your sort of indoctrination. But you have to go. So you work in the back office, you work in a warehouse, you do the deliveries, you work on the fries, you cook the burgers, you work on the lobby, you do the litter thing. So if you was going to be a manager at McDonald's, you know this shit, right? Or you need to know this shit. So you don't get your stars until you complete. It's like a game, right? You have to do this and then you get a star. So you get your pat on your back. And the more stars you get, the more money you get, right? So, yeah, and then you can be a manager, you could be a lobby host, you could be an area manager. So the good thing about McDonald's is you don't need any qualifications. You can go in there, and if you wanted to be the managing director of McDonald's, you could be, just like Tesco's. You know, if you go in there and you work hard and you achieve and you work your way up the ladder, you can actually get to the top. So I think if that's something that you was interested in, I think it'd be good. What I took from it was a bit of fun, paid me a bit of money to keep me going while I was working out what I wanted to do. But what it done was, again, you know, if you can sit there and empty a bin and actually put yourself inside a bin, cleaning all the fucking shit out of the bin, going in the toilets, cleaning the fucking toilets. If you can do that, which is, you know, people would actually say, I'm not fucking doing that, right? I'm not doing that. I'm not going to lie myself. But someone's got to fucking do it. But the fact is, because I did all of those, what I would call shit jobs, which people wouldn't want to do now or wouldn't want to do then, it made me think, well, if I can do that, I can't do anything. And then anything I did, I'm thinking, well, at least I'm not fucking cleaning the piss out of the fucking toilet or I'm cleaning the bins. I'm actually doing something fun, you know. So I think all of the, again, you know, the positives from McDonald's was it makes you resilient. If you can do that, you can do anything, and you learn to work in a team. So again, I was only there for a year, but, you know, I learned quite a bit. I might have been there for 2 years, actually, but yeah, but it was fun.
I think what I took from what you just said there is, no matter what you're doing, if you pay attention, you can gather those skills and put them into something else that you do want to do.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'll be completely honest with you. The only reason I went in McDonald's is because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it was free food, right?
What was your favourite burger?
I was always a Big Mac, large fries, and I used to love apple pies.
I was going to guess that.
And a vanilla milkshake.
Oh, I was going to go strawberry milkshake.
But But I think as McDonald's as a business, I don't know if you saw that Ray Kroc movie about the guy who founded McDonald's.
With Michael Keaton in it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Fucking great
The
film.
founder.
The founder. Amazing movie.
Brilliant film.
And you sort of look at that and you think, what a fucking genius. You know, he's gone from kind of an idea for a burger joint to just replicating it. And the thing is, what I love about McDonald's is you can be anywhere in the world and, you know, if you get a quarter pound of cheese, it's a fucking quarter pound of cheese. Do you know what I mean? So they've got the consistency, they've got the model right, you know. And again, you know, there's a lot of people now who are complaining about, oh, you know, I can't get the job I want and all the rest of it. I don't know why, but like if you talk to a lot of the kids now, especially the 18 to 24-year-olds, they look down their noses at you know, well, I'm not fucking doing it. I'm not allowing myself to that. I want to be an influencer. I want to be a fucking singer. I want to be an actor. And
they're too busy watching Logan Paul.
Mate, I'd love to fucking, you know, be an influencer and just sit there going, I'm living my best life and people fly me on private jets and give me loads of money every day. But the reality is there's only a handful of those people in the world, just like when you set up a business, you know, on the FTSE 100, there's only 100 fucking companies that are, you know, in that space, right? There's probably 1 million companies that love to be in that space, but there's only 100 in that space. So whatever you do in life, I think you've got to aim for the top. But the reality is you probably ain't going to get there. But if you aim for the top and you get to number 2 or number 3, then I can live with that, right? But I always aim for the top and whatever I get, if I get to the top, fucking happy days. But if I don't get to the top, I'm only going to be 2 or 3 away from the top. And it's better to do that and have a go than not have a go and just sit here going, poor me, I've got no opportunities. Poor me, you know, you know, you can make up 1 million fucking excuses on why you're not where you are. So, you know, I think you have to fucking stop with the excuses, stop with all this fucking shit. So many people, when I listen to what they say, you know, I'm looking for, you know, there's a thing in the paper again the other day saying that kids do not want to fucking work. And it's like, well, why don't you want to work? You know, if you don't fucking work and you just bum and sponge off the state, what are you going to do? Do you know what I mean? You're just going to, is that going to make you happy? Just sitting around not doing anything every day? Waking up and going, oh, what should I do today? I'll get stoned. I'll fucking...
Again.
Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, but I've always wanted to do stuff.
How old were you when you got into club promoting?
Obviously, the rave stuff started off in the late 80s, and I'd sort of missed it because it weren't my thing. But then I think as it grew and grew and grew, more and more people were like, you should come to a rave. We've got to go to a rave. So I think I was in this weird sort of space where I didn't really want to go. I just thought, fuck it, you know, I might as well give it a go. But if I hadn't gone, and if people hadn't kept nagging me to go, I'd have probably never been a flyer boy, never been a ticket tout, never put on a rave, never done a magazine. So all the stuff that I did in that period of time, I would never have done.
So is that how it started, you flyering?
Yeah, I just come out of a rave, thought, actually, this is fucking great. I wouldn't mind coming to another one. But back then it was like 20 quid to get in. And I was like, fucking hell, how am I going to afford to do this? And again, it's that thing where I come out, saw the guys giving out flyers. Do you get paid for this, mate? Yeah. How much do you get paid? £10. Do you get in for free? Yeah, I get in for free. Sweet. You got a number? So then I rung his boss up and said, I've got 20 mates who go out fucking Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know, if I brought them to the table and we give out some flyers for you, can you get us in all these fucking clubs and raves for free? And he was like, absolutely. So got on the phone to one of my mates and said, right, we're going to do this. I'm going to get in for free. You've got to come out and give some flyers out. I'm getting paid for it, but you're getting the clubs for free. They're like, sweet. So straight away, I went from earning nothing to earning, you know, 200 or 300 quid a week, which was obviously a lot of money back then, right? And I was going out for free. And then I sort of looked at the back of the flyers and thought, no one's selling tickets in Surrey. Rung them up, let me be a ticket out in Surrey. So then I started selling tickets. So I was doing flyers and tickets and I was earning, you know, good money, considering I was on, I don't know if it was 40 quid a week or 40 quid every 2 weeks when I was on the welfare, you know, the dole, right? So, you know, you've gone from that to that. And then you sort of think, fucking hell, you know, I'm actually earning good money here. And then it was sort of like, and I used to love reading Viz magazine. And there was a magazine in America called Mad as a kid. So I actually thought, you know, I'm going to do a rave magazine like that. So I started doing a magazine. I wanted to go to the rave. I wanted to earn money. I wanted to get off the dole. And if I've got to give fucking bits of paper out outside of rave at 6 a.m, fucking 3 or 4 times a week with my mates, and that means I'm going to be able to get off the dole and actually earn some money, fucking doing it. If I've got to meet somebody and sell them some tickets, and back then you get 10%, right? So if a ticket was 15 quid, but people wouldn't buy one, they'd buy 5 or 10. So you literally, there was an outlet in Camberley where I lived called Four Sports, which was like a big sports shop, and it was a ticket. It wasn't a ticket place. It was just a sports shop where they had all the latest tracksuits, trainers. So all the ravers would go there and buy all their gear. So I used to say to the fella, I said, look, every Saturday, right, there's going to be a rave on, right, and I'm going to sell tickets, right, and there might be some on Fridays as well, but I'm going to get everybody to meet outside your shop or inside your shop at this time. So everyone's going to come and buy the tickets off me. I'm not paying you any fucking money, but I'm going to bring a few hundred people in your fucking shop on a Friday and a Saturday to buy loads of shit because they're going out partying. He was like, sweet. So he's winning. I've got a fucking shop front that I can use for free. And it don't cost me anything. And I'm just down up there. And instead of meeting you for fucking 5 tickets, meeting him for 10 tickets, I'm just sat there with the tickets. And I'm just like, how many do you want, boom? How many do you want, boom? You know, I think the most tickets I sold was, 500 for one event. So if you do the maths, 515 quids, and you get 10%, and all I'm doing is just sat in a fucking behind the counter, just going like that, and they're giving me the money. So for me, it was, free money. So again, but I had to take that opportunity. I had to pick up the flyer and say, there's no one selling tickets in Surrey. I'm going to bring this guy up, and I'm going to say, why aren't you putting me on a fucking flyer? I will be your ticket tout. So they're going, great, we need a ticket tout. So again, it's taking massive action. It's like looking at it, how can I make money here? But people don't tend to take the initiative. And I've always took the initiative.
Look for the opportunity.
There's opportunities everywhere, right? Some of them lead nowhere. Some of them lead you down a path of failure, and some lead you down a path of success. But if you don't ever take any opportunities, and if you don't ever try and explore other ways of doing things, or, putting yourself out there, people aren't going to ring you. People aren't going to ring me and go, oh, Tev, you're in Surrey. Can I put you on the back of the flight? Do you want to sell some tickets for me? I had to take that fucking initiative to ring them and say, you've got no one in Surrey selling tickets. Let me be your man. Do you know what I mean? And they was like, sweet. It wasn't even a hard sell. Then once you're on one, then everyone else is ringing, oh, can I put you on my flight? Of course you can. Do you know what I mean?
How did that then evolve? And what come first, One Nation or Garage Nation?
One Nation. I was doing the flyers, I was doing the tickets, I was doing the magazine, and someone said to me, you're doing all this shit, why don't you do your own rave? And I was like, it's a good idea. So I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. And that's, how I started promoting. And again, I didn't know what I was doing. I knew what I liked, and I knew what DJs I liked. So I just sort of made it up as I went along. But, it took me, I'd say probably a year of putting events on, putting club nights on, to sort of cut the teeth on it and work out how to do it. And then I just grew. And then as it went on and on and on, I got better and better at it. The brand expanded. It's a fucking great name. I mean, it's a fucking great name. And again, I think that's one of the things I've always been pretty good with, coming up with names.
And what was the name of your magazine?
The Scene magazine. So again, it's like, right, you want to be seen, get the Scene magazine. Do you know what I mean?
So the magazine come before One Nation?
Yeah. I think at the time there was a couple of magazines, but you had to go in Smiths and buy them, and they were the big, A4 magazines. But this was a little A5 magazine. I said, look, I'm going to do a few of these. Do you want to do an advert? It's only going to cost you this. Yeah, sweet. So I was already giving flyers and selling tickets for people. So when I said to them, do you want to put an advert in my magazine? They were all like, yeah. So I managed to get the first one funded. I didn't make a lot of money, but I made a little bit of money. And then it just evolved. It started off as a black and white, handout. Then it went black and white colour. Then it went full colour. And then it ended up being 128 pages. So it was like a fucking book. Do you know what I mean? That I did every month,
Did you have to call people in to write columns and stuff?
What I used to do was, I used to have friends of mine who were giving flyers out. And I said, when you go to that rave, I want you to write me a review on what it was like, what DJs played. So they were there anyway. So they got a free night out. So they just go, yeah, there you go. There's my review. And then I'd make a couple of calls. We do interview some of the DJs. We had Dave Courtney used to do a page for us, because back in the 90s, he was a big fixture on the club scene. And I met him through these DJs called Daniel and Michelle. And I met him, and he was actually really funny. And he said to me, he said, "Oh, why don't you let me write a column for your book?" And it was called Dodgy Dave's Rave Page, and it would be his month of his rave adventures, right, which everyone loved. And then my mum was the agony aunt, but it was just stupid shit. So it was like it was done with humour in mind. There was, a little bit of serious stuff like the reviews and the interviews, but it was all done. Most of the interviews were done on the phone. They send you a picture. And then I used to just literally send everything to a design company. They put it all together. Then I'd have to sit there reading the fucking thing and proofing it. And obviously we know the lowest CSE. So for people that are watching this or listening to this, the CSE was lower than an O level. So, and I got grade 5 CSEs, which is probably like getting a fucking U in a GCSE. So that was what I got in English, and I'm now a fucking editor of a magazine, right? So fuck knows how that worked, but people loved it, and I ended up selling it at the end. So again, I got to the point where I'd done it for like 3 or 4 years. The promoting was really taken off. I was like, I just don't have time to do this anymore. Same with the flyers, don't have time to do this. Same with the tickets, don't have time. Let somebody else do it. Do you know what I mean? Because when you're promoting to the scale I was promoting, it's like a 24/7 job, a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. And the last thing I wanted to do was worry about fucking driving around someone's house with some flyers and meeting someone to buy some tickets. It was just like, mate, I don't have time for this anymore. So I had to, the stuff that actually got me to where I wanted to be, I had to fucking park up because I was too busy with the other stuff. And that is one thing that, some people would go, well, you should have kept it. You should have got someone to run it. But for me, I think once you've lost interest in something, and once you've got to the point where you want to focus fully on one thing, you have to make that choice, and that was a choice I made.
So going from the Scene magazine then to One Nation, what was the genre of music?
Drum and bass originally. I mean, in the initial One Nation was a mixture, because back then you'd have like hardcore, you'd have a bit of techno, you'd have drum and bass, a bit of old school. So it would all be in one room, and then the scene kind of split. So, Cole Cox went off playing techno. There was like house. There was like, rave music. There was like drum and bass. And I just thought, I really like drum and bass. So I just said, what, I'm just going to do drum and bass. So One Nation quickly evolved from being like a rave brand into a drum and bass brand. But it didn't start off as a drum and bass brand. It started off with a mixture. You had all these different sort of DJs playing.
Now, back in the day when I used to go raving, do you remember Stearns or Mansion House?
My first rave.
In Worthing, yeah. That was quite some gaff. But so you go to the house events or even garage events, and it was quite mellow. Good vibe, but there weren't masses of violence. The drum and bass, on the other hand,
that's fine. I mean, there was no trouble. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the only time the trouble started, I mean, you'd have silly things like somebody would have a fight, or somebody would have their car stereo nicked out the car, or somebody be sold some dodgy fucking drugs that weren't real. They were selling like fucking vitamin tablets or whatever. So you'd have like silly things like that happening. But the trouble started, I'd say, probably 95, 96, when the music changed and they brought in, they started sampling like reggae. So you'd have the drum bass, but instead of it just being drum bass, you'd have like fucking Shabba Ranks, or you'd have like fucking Beanie Man, or you'd have all these like reggae artists from Jamaica. And then what I think that did, that brought in a whole new group of people. And you actually had a lot of these Jamaican artists coming over saying, like, who the fuck's sampling, in the yardies, right? Because obviously nobody was paying for these fucking samples. They were just nicking their fucking their songs and then putting them over drum and bass. So obviously you had the yardies getting the ump. And I think the drugs changed as well. Back in the day, people would, pop an E and have a really good time. And then I think what happened was, where this sort of new music come in, people were taking coke, smoking crack. I mean, there was some raves you go in and all you could smell was crack. You walk in the door and you'd be like, fuck this, get me out of here. Do you know what I mean? And that, we never had that in ours, but in some of the other raves that were, we were always like super stringent. You know what I mean? We was always thinking about health and safety. We was always worried that we didn't want anybody selling drugs. We knew that people were selling drugs in there because obviously, everyone was out there fucking nuts. But as a promoter, we were like, we're not taking any money off anybody for drugs. We're not, if we find anybody selling drugs, they're fucking out the door. Search everybody coming in through the metal detectors, patting them down. We have our own fucking team inside watching the fire exits so nobody's fucking bringing people in. The DJs used to bring drugs in as well for their mates to sell. So we'd open all their fucking record boxes. If we found anything, we'd fucking give it to the police. So we were literally like zero tolerance on the drugs, right? And people would say, well, why? That's what it was built on. But the thing is, because we was like such a big, high-profile promotions company, if somebody had died on drugs at one of our raves, we would have been fucked. And also, we had to have a clean bill of health because we were being looked at. Because obviously, if you're putting on 20, 30 events a month, and you're the biggest promoter in England, and probably in the world at the time, people are going to be looking at you going, wonder what that guy's come from nowhere, wonder what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? So, if I was walking around putting these raves on thinking no one was looking at me, I'd be fucking stupid. So I had to be completely and utterly clean bill of health, not get involved in any of that bollocks. And that was always my thing, zero tolerance on anyone fucks about, get dealt with, no fucking drugs. If people are able to bring drugs in and sell them without us seeing them or finding them, or people were taking them in a crowd, when they're queuing up outside, it's something you do to stop that. But we'd always have zero tolerance.
Did you have a solid security team?
Yeah. We had probably the best. We had, people that were, gangbangers that people knew. We had people that were special forces. We had martial arts experts. We had a team of fucking 10 guys, and we had a special forces dog handler with 2 fucking Dobermans as well. And they were like, if they come out, mate, you fucking run. Do you know what I mean? So we and people knew when we rolled up, we weren't. They would never look for any trouble, but they were there. There was a presence, and people knew. Do you know what I mean? And if it did go off, it got sorted out very quickly.
Did you ever have any firms coming to target you directly or your team?
No, we had a few incidents where people pulled guns out. We had a few like fucking stand-up fights with groups of people. But I think all the proper firms in London at the time and up down the country, they knew they knew what it was about, and we weren't selling drugs. We weren't any threat to them. We weren't in that world. We were straight goers. So we're putting on an event. If we was in a club like every week, so if we owned the club, we'd have probably got somebody knocking on the door saying, "Oh, we need some money and whatever." But because we literally just rent a venue, put an event on, fuck off. We weren't there long enough to trouble anybody, so we got left alone. And as I said, we didn't get involved in any of that stuff. And I think because we didn't get involved in it, that's why we got left alone. I think if we'd have been, doing all the other naughty things that some of the other promoters were doing, I think then we would have been targets. And, some of the promoters did get shaken down. I mean, I know for a fact they got shaken down. And we only had it once, but the guy said he was joking when I put it on him.
What happened there?
Just this guy from Brixton used to come to our events. He'd always come in. We'd always give him, champagne. We'd always treat him with respect. And then when we did our first Brixton Academy rave, he said to my head of security, Terry's got to pay when he comes here because I can't guarantee his safety unless he pays. And he said, well, what do you want me to tell him? And just say, well, just tell him I don't need him to guarantee my safety. And I'm not going to pay anybody anything. I'd rather pay someone to fucking take you away. And he said, you want me to tell him? I said, yeah, fucking tell him it. And he told him it. And then on the night, the guys were all thinking, we're going to have a fucking proper fault. It's going to be full on now, right? Because this guy was allegedly somebody of relevance. And we were ready to go. We was like, well, if he wants to come down with his fucking mates, we'll have it. And then he turned up on his own. And he said, let's go and have a drink. And I was like, sweet. And he goes, oh, just fucking about. Yeah, I was only fucking about. I said, well, I wasn't. I was being deadly serious. I would pay someone to take you away. And he was like, why are you being like this? I'm not. Just, if I pay you, I pay everybody, right? So I'm not paying anybody anything, right? I'd rather just give the money to somebody and say, deal with that problem and not be involved in it. And I think he knew that I was, and bear in mind, I was in my fucking 20s then, and I was a lot fucking, I come from a council estate, and I think you could probably say I was a loose cannon in my 20s.
Did you get involved in the drug scene?
No. For me, I appreciated it for what it was. And I think when you go out, right, you know, as I said, when I went, I've gone from going to a nightclub with sticky carpets to having fights with people, getting drunk, asking girls for a dance when they used to put on what's called the erection section, right, which wouldn't happen now. But back then they play like Luther Vandross, Alexander O'Neill love songs, Barry White, and you go up to a girl and go, hey, you know, can we have a dance, you know? And then you'd have 2 o'clock at the end, you'd have a kebab, have a fight and go home. So that would be clubbing. So obviously if you've been brought up in that's the clubbing experience, then you go to Stearns, there's 3,000 people jumping about having a good time, there's no trouble, there's no sticky carpets, girls are coming up to you going, come and have a dance with me. You're like, fucking hell, you know, I want to be in this fucking place, not in the nightclub thing. So I think when you look at the scene as a whole, I mean, like, look, there was loads of promoters that would go out and all get fucked up on drugs and then put an event on, make a load of money, go out and get fucked up on drugs. When they run out of money, go and put another rave on. Do you know, so there was people that were just putting raves on to fund their fucking partying and drugs habits. But I was doing it as a business, and that's probably why I won all the awards. That's probably why I was the biggest promoter, because I looked at it as a business. And for me, it was always like, how can we do more events? How can we make more money? How can we do this? How can we do that? So it was run like a machine, you know what I mean? And bear in mind, I'd never done any events before. I didn't know how any of it worked.
What were your favourite clubs?
The Astoria, Breakfast Club, which was the club underneath the Astoria. There was a place in Holloway Road called the Rocket. That was a great venue. Island in Ilford was wicked. Adrenaline Village in Chelsea, Club UN in Tottenham, Stratford Rex, Coliseum in Vauxhall, Sanctuary Milton Keynes, Wembley Arena. We did a big party there for 20,000 people. That was fun. GMX in Manchester. I mean, there was so many, but
Camden Palace.
I never did a party there. But I loved it as a venue because I went there. There used to be a thing there called Orange on Fridays, and because I used to give out the flyers for them, we'd sometimes go in there, and that was a great venue. But never done a party there. But Brixton Academy was phenomenal. So I think a lot of these places were. I mean, for me, and I suppose, you know, when people talk about having regrets, I think my biggest regret was never going to one of my own parties.
Did you not?
And having a night out. No, because I was working, you know what I mean? If you'd have seen me.
It's a conflict of interest as well, isn't it?
You go to other promoters' events, they'd be on the stage, sunglasses on, champagne, loads of girls around them, look at me, I'm the promoter. For me, I was like bulletproof vest, long coat, baseball cap, gloves, fucking heavy boots. You know, I was there. I wasn't there to fuck about. I was there thinking something's going to go off tonight. And the last thing I want to do is be standing on the stage with my sunglasses on, get pissed out of my head when it all kicks off. Do you know what I mean? And I was literally, get there, get the money and fuck off. I wasn't, look, obviously I was, you know, I enjoyed it. I've stood there and watched it all and was like, wow, this is fucking amazing. Wish I was on the dance floor instead of being behind the stage. But for me, I was always on that thing where it was a job, really. And people used to call me a miserable. They always say, why are you so aggressive? Why you always look like you got the hump? But, you know, when you're putting an event on for 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people, everyone's driving you mad all night, got fucking things going on all night, got issues to deal with all night, and it just gave me the hump. You know, there was nothing pleasurable about being a promoter. It was great, obviously, after the event, when you've gone, wow, we've made some money, or we've won an award, or everyone's ringing up or coming up to you and like, this is fucking unbelievable. This is one of the best nights. All the DJs are going, fucking hell, that was one of the best events I played on. So you got the sort of pats on the back, which was nice. But the actual bit of promoting was a miserable experience because, you know, you got everybody ringing your phone. You got everybody driving you mad in the night. You got people trying to come in. You got people, you know, outside fucking trying to rob people from the station. You got people fucking trying to sneak in the back door. I mean, I actually grabbed the geezer. He was trying to get in the fire exit and I fucking grabbed him and pulled him out the fucking window. So I was walking around the back and I saw these fucking legs and I've just jumped up and gone, I pulled him out and obviously filled him in. And he was an MC. And he actually said to me when we did the documentary, he said, do you remember when I tried to sneak in your wave, you grabbed my fucking legs and pulled me out and fucking waved me in. So don't fucking sneak in the fucking pay. You know what I mean? Fucking. But
rattle off some of the famous MCs that you had. See if I can remember some of them.
Stevie Hyper D. RIP. He was one of the best. Skibbity, again, he's no longer with us, RIP. He was really good. MC Det, Shabba-D. There was Fat Mandy, who I played a little joke on. Because he was called Fat Man, then D. But I put Fat Mandy, as in, like it's a woman, Fat Mandy. And put it on the fly as a joke. And he came up to me and he goes, this fucking, what are you doing?
Oh, you actually sent him to print?
And I said, oh, fucking, there's been a typo. He goes, you've done it on purpose. And I did do it on purpose, but we had a laugh about it. But it was but that was me. I was always like up for a bit of a laugh, and I've always had the banter with all the DJs and all the MCs. You know, we've always been close, and it's actually quite funny because my son is massively into drum and bass, and drum and bass now has come back really big. And I still own a brand, so we are actually going to be stepping back, doing some drum and bass events. And I've not told anybody about this, but it's going to be called United Nation. It's going to be basically Turbo and Sons. So my two boys are going to be doing it. My sons, my eldest son, is already promoting, he's already smashing it, right, doing house music. But he sort of said, you know, I wouldn't mind doing this as another sideline. And then my youngest son is like, I really want to do this, Dad. I'm right into drum and bass. It's like, sweet. So that's going to be something that they're going to run, but I'm going to obviously contribute to. And, maybe I can add a bit of that Terry Turbo magic on the from back in the day. You know?
Where did Terry Turbo come from?
I mean, it's a fucking stupid story. I mean, when I was a kid, I've always been into urban music, right? So I grew up, listening to reggae and rap. And when the breakdance, graffiti stuff started in the 80s, I was right into all that. And I was probably the worst breakdancer ever. And there was a film called Breakdance the Movie. And there was a character in it called Turbo. So everybody thought it'd be really funny to call me Turbo Terry. So that was the nickname, Turbo Terry. And I used to have so many fights with people because he was just mugging me off. Oh, look, Turbo Terry's doing his dance. And I'd be like, I'd have fights with people. Like I'd be standing somewhere and someone come out and call me Turbo Terry and I'd just lose the plot. I'd be like, who are you talking to? And then it'd all go off. And then when I started doing the promotion, I just couldn't shake this name off. And I just thought, I'm going to swap it around. So instead of Turbo Terry, it's going to be Terry Turbo. So that's where the name come from. So it's not a great story, but it was, again, born out of being fucking ridiculed and having a piss taken out of me. It wasn't a term of endearment. Do you know what I mean?
You say it's not a great story. I mean, it's stuck to the point you're bringing it back.
Well, people still call me Terry Turbo, Turbo Terry now. People that remember me from back in the day, sort of always fucking go, oh, you always be Turbo to me. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, that was where the name come from.
So was it hard bringing it to an end, the promotion?
No, it was really easy because I'd done it for so long.
Earning good money?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, look, there's three factors that made me sell. One was the violence was getting out of control. And what that led to was, in the last year, me putting events and I had a gun pulled out of me 3 times. And it was just stupid shit. It wasn't even about anything. It was just like people coming up to the door. I need to bring this in. Can you walk me through? No. Well, I've got to have it. No, go and put it in the car. And then you kind of having it with people because they're going, why aren't you letting me bring? And it's like, nobody's bringing anything like that in this fucking rave. Do you know what I mean? So it got to the point where I just thought, I've had a gun pulled out of me 3 times and I haven't been shot. So that was a bonus. When we were putting events on, especially the garage side, because of all the crews, because the garage back in the day was people would wear suits, champagne, the girls would dress up. And then obviously when the crews come in, everyone started wearing tracksuit, trainers, hoodies, sunglasses. So basically anybody could come in. It was literally like a green light for anybody from the hood could come in to these events. And obviously you had people from North London mixing with East London, mixing with South London, mixing with West London. You got people from Manchester. And it's like a melting pot of fucking aggravation, right? And the police literally was like, you can't have these fucking DJs. You can't have these MCs. The venues are like, fucking hell, no, we don't want that. A lot of the venues were being redeveloped into flats. And because there was shootings, because there was drugs, because there was problems, a lot of these venue owners were like, you know what, I just want to fucking sell up and go. Because if they're shooting at your club, you're going to lose your license. If people are taking drugs in the club, even if it's not your fault, if somebody brings them in and fucking takes them and drops down dead, someone's been taking drugs in the club, you're going to take your license away. So all the club owners were shitting themselves because obviously you've got this fucking huge bit of real estate. The only value to it is having the license. If the license is not there, you're fucked. You can't open. So a lot of them were redeveloping these venues. So a lot of the venues were closing. And, you know, I was 30 years of age, and I remember I just met my wife, and she said to me, I've never been at one of these raves, you know, I'd like to go, right? So I took her to a couple, and she was like, you need to fucking sell this. And I was like, why? And she said, you know, you're going to work in a bulletproof vest. You've got these, I mean, these are words, not mine. You've got these serial killers looking after you. You've got fucking dog handlers. You're wearing bulletproof vests. She said, this isn't going to have a happy ending. She said, something's going to happen on one of these things. And it's either going to be you on the receiving end of it or somebody else. And then you're going to end up, because they work for you, you're going to get fucking wrapped into it. So she said, you're better off fucking selling it and do something sensible. It allowed, what it did was it allowed me to have a year off. And I just said, I'm going to have a year off. I'm going to work out what I'm going to do next. And it was weird because once you've sold up and you no longer have your business, it's like you've given your fucking, it's like having a family and saying, take my children away. And then you go, that was great. We've got peace and quiet now. But then you go, I don't know if I like this. So I think I had that, when you've been doing something for so long, it feels like part of you's sort of been stolen. So I missed it. And then I was toying with the idea of, you know, maybe I made a mistake, maybe I'll do something else. And then I thought, no, I've said I'm out, so I'm out. And then I got involved in a bar and restaurant, and I got involved in somebody offered me, Dave Courtney offered me a part in his film he was doing.
Hell to Pay.
Hell to Pay. Yeah, so that was, again, you know, where I'd sort of give him a platform in the magazine for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. You know, when he did his film, he was like, oh, I'm doing a movie. Do you want to be in it? You know, so he was the reason I got into acting. So thank you, Dave, and rest in peace, Dave. You know, but
Dave said when I interviewed him that Hell to Pay was his finest moment and the film that he was most proud of. Off the back of that, I went and watched it. See you in there. Was that your first film?
First film, yeah.
Well, you stood out amongst the cast.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit unhappy about that.
I thought Dave was great, but you 100% stood out from everybody else in that film.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, mate, I didn't know what I was doing. It was a laugh. I enjoyed it, and that gave me the bug for it.
How did you take to that so naturally then? Because you did. I'm not just saying that because you're here, right. But yeah, you look like you'd done that before.
Do you know something? I was kind of playing myself, really. I think you know, it was these imaginary scenarios. So there wasn't even a script. It was literally like, oh, right, we're in this fucking thing. Can you take the piss out of that guy?
Freestyle.
Absolutely. You've killed this bird. Can you talk to yourself? Absolutely. You know, so it was like an improvised film. And I'd never done anything like before. But it was like someone saying to you, Liam, and I know you're a fucking good dancer, Liam, because I watch your videos on Friday, right? But it's like someone saying to you, oh, Liam, you know, do us a favour, in this scene, can you just dance to this bird and dance to that guy and then dance back here? And you just be like, yeah, sweet. And everyone go, oh, fucking hell, Liam was so natural at that. So if I'd have had to learn lines and actually perform and actually think about what I was doing, which is when you actually do proper acting and you've got a script and it's all done properly, at that point, it's a different bag. But in this film, it was literally like, here's the scene. This guy owes you some money. He's going to get shot in the face. That's the bird you're going to shag. Let's just talk and see what happens. And then they'd just be filming it and they'd go, that's quite funny. Can you change that? Don't say that. Don't look at her. So the guy was like directing you through the performances as such. There's no script. It was all improvised, which I didn't know what script was. So then when I actually thought, oh, well, I wouldn't want getting involved, then I got an agent, got some pictures done, and then they start sending me scripts. I'm like, well, we have to learn that and fucking perform it. I'm like, well, how'd you fucking do that? So I had to kind of go to do some drama training and join the little drama club and drama school. And so I did actually take it really seriously. And my missus always used to laugh because she used to say, you know, you used to be one of the biggest club promoters in the fucking world. Now you're walking down the road with a satchel, proper little thespian going to RADA trying to learn how to be an actor, you know.
What they make you do? Lay on your back and cry like a baby and do all sorts of madness?
No, the drama stuff, so there's a place in London called the Actors Centre, so and they do courses. So once you pay your 30 quid a year to be a member, or whatever it is, they have like a timetable. So you can do Meisner, you can do method, you can do improvisation, you can do posture. So like if you wanted to just train every day, you can just go in there from fucking 9 o'clock in the morning till 6 at night or 10 at night, just doing classes if you want it, right? So I did that initially. Then I got an acting coach who worked with Guy Ritchie, because I thought, you know, I actually wanted to understand how to do this, you know, from a, you know, we got this guy who can't act. Can you come in and fucking help him? Do you know what I mean? So I did that. And then one of the courses I did at this Actor Centre was called the Meisner technique.
What's that?
There was basically 3 or 4 different ways of acting, and his one was the one that I tried them all, but the one he did was the one I liked the best, and it's called reacting in the moment, right? So one of the exercises they do is they stand there and then they say something to you. So I would be doing this exercise with you, and I'd be saying, "You're wearing a white t-shirt." And you'd be like, "You're wearing a white t-shirt." And I'd be like, "You're wearing a white t-shirt." But we'd be looking at in each other's eyes. And by repeating that thing, even though it sounds fucking stupid, things happen when you do it, right? So, because obviously, once you've said that you're wearing a white t-shirt, you can say it funnily, "Wearing a white t-shirt." Or you can say it like, "You're wearing a white t-shirt." Do you know what I mean? And then you could go, "I'm wearing a white t-shirt." Do you know what I mean? So you can actually, so it's about reacting and responding. It's not about fucking going, "I'm going to say this. When you say your line, I'm going to say this line. And when you say your cue, I'm going to come in my cue." You're actually, it teaches you to fucking react to what's in front of you, because you can say a line fucking 6 different ways. Because obviously you might come up to me and fucking grab me around the throat and go, "You're wearing a white t-shirt." So I'm going to be a lot, if I just go, "I'm wearing a white t-shirt," you'd be like, "That's a bit of a weird fucking reaction." Normally it'd be like, "I'm wearing a fucking, get your fucking hands off me." You know what I mean? So when you're doing these things, it's about getting your mind into, it's not about learning lines and about repeating dialogue or waiting for your cue. It's about looking at you, seeing what you're doing, and then when you say your line, how does it make me feel? And I'm fucking reacting to what you say, right? So that is what resonated with me, and I thought, I actually like this. So that's what I did a year of that.
It's interesting.
Everybody's got a different way, and some people want to lay on the floor and connect with the universe. Some people want to stand there and be a tree. Some people want to, you know, put on, you know, dresses or, you know, walk around naked, you know, to free themselves. But for me, that was my way in. I tried lots of different things. I think one of the funniest courses, and I can't remember the guy's name, because if I could, I would cut him off, right? But there was this guy at the Actors Centre, and he was teaching people the method. And obviously a lot of people know De Niro is a method actor, Brando's a method actor, and I thought, well, I'm quite method, right? So I think I would resonate with this. So I've sat in this room with this guy, and he's talking, and he's going, right, right, we're going to have a reality check now, right? So he's going round to people and basically just belittling them and cutting them off in front of everybody. So he came up to me and says, all you're going to do is be a doorman or a fucking thug. That's what you're going to do, right? And he goes, somebody else, all you're going to do is this. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, who is this? Right? And at this time, I'd done a body of work. I've been in a few films, done a bit of TV. And I thought, you know what? Tonight I'm going to look this on IMDb and Spotlight and see what he's done. And he'd done fuck all, 0. Just a failed actor. So the next day when I come in and he started again, I stood up and I said, you know something, mate? I said, I'm actually going to go now. I said, how the fuck can you teach anybody anything about acting when you've done fuck all yourself? I said, you're a fucking joke. Right? And all you're doing is you're belittling everybody in this room. You're a c*** and has walked out. I was just like,
I wonder if you thought you were going into character and you was just acting.
No, but you know something? I just thought someone's got to tell this, because what he's doing, if you're an actor and you're in that room and you're a little bit fragile and you're a little bit, and a lot of actors are quite sensitive, right? So if this looking you in the eye going, you're never going to do this, you'll never do that, basically just mugging you off and making you feel bad about yourself. I thought, how is that going to help you act? Do you know what I mean? Straight away, this guy's putting you on a fucking downer. The thing is, there was nothing, you know, like when I've done acting stuff and any actors that are watching this will resonate with this. It either works or it doesn't. And if somebody's saying to you, try this, and you try and it doesn't work for you, you just go, this doesn't work for me. All right? No, you got to keep doing it. Well, it doesn't work for me, mate. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to do it because it makes me feel fucking stupid. And I don't know what this has got to do with method acting. You know what I mean? Sitting there making funny noises, moving your head around. So that was probably one of my, I wish I remember the guy's name, because when I left there, I was quite annoyed what he was doing and the way he was doing it. I just thought, there's no need to be like this, right? And I just thought, give him the benefit of the doubt. He might be some massive actor that's, been in loads of movies and, he didn't even have an agent. So you're like, you haven't even got an agent, you haven't done fuck all, but you're telling us how to act. And I was like, there's something wrong here. But look, I've been doing it 20 years now, so I've learned a lot from being on set, from being around really good actors. But again, I still don't feel like, I still feel like there's so much more to learn. And again, being a working class, 50-something actor, obviously there's not a million roles for people like me, So I think there was 20 years ago, 20 years ago, there was no diversity push. There was no, it was just like, whatever, we need somebody for that. But now they're sort of going, well, we need somebody here, we need somebody there. So sometimes, the roles are changing because they have to tick boxes. So where there might be a role that I could have played, they might go, well, actually give it to a woman, or give it to, if a minority, or give it to somebody who fit. Because they, especially the big broadcasters, they have to demonstrate diversity. So they have to have different ethnic minorities, different religions, different colours, different creeds, different ages. They have to, give a trans community opportunities. They have to give disabled actors opportunities. So where back then it was just literally like, we need a posh kid, here do. When a working class kid, here do. Now it's sort of like, well, no, we do need that, but we need to think about diversity. So lots of different people are being put in different roles, and they're making roles, they're literally casting people in roles that could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be anybody.
What are your views on that? Do you think it's a net positive or a net negative?
Do you know, so I've always had this view. When I was putting on my events, I'd always employ the best people for the job. And back then, the majority of people that worked for me, I'd say 90% were probably black. And that wasn't because I was ticking boxes. It was because they were amazing people. They could have been white. They could have been yellow. It wouldn't have mattered. They were just amazing at what they did. So for me, I was ticking boxes back then, but I wasn't ticking boxes. I was employing people because they were outstanding at what they did. And I think when you look at the world now, and they're saying, well, there should be more females on boards. There should be more diversity in the arts. There should be more of this. There should be more of that. I agree with all that. But the thing is, you can't put people in roles if there's somebody that's better than them at that role, because you tick your box, but then if they can't run the company, or if they can't perform, I mean, in our business now, there's a lot of actors who, if they play a role, they can't play anything other than themselves. So you can't have a non-Jewish person playing a Jewish person. You can't have, if you have a black person playing a black role, they would say, well, what sort of black person is it? And you can't have, like an African playing a Jamaican, whereas back in the day, it wouldn't matter. Do you know what I mean? It was like, the role's the role. So whoever's best for that can play it. But, there was a big uproar recently. They did a film about Golda Meir. Helen Mirren played Golda Meir, and Helen Mirren's not Jewish. So they had this whole thing saying, well, this is ridiculous, casting a non-Jewish person in a Jewish role. Dame Maureen Lipman come out and said the same thing, basically. She said, look, I'm not, I can't believe, they've put a non-Jew in a Jewish part. And then Helen Mirren come back with a great comeback. She said, by that rationale, you shouldn't have done any of your work because you've never played any Jews. You've always played the non-Jews. So you shouldn't have had a career then, by that rationale. And it's to me, it's like acting's about playing somebody else. Do you know what I mean? It's about, if you look at Daniel Day-Lewis, when he played that character with cerebral palsy in my left foot.
Oh, what a film.
You know, people now say, well, you need someone with cerebral palsy to play that role. And it's just like, well, someone with cerebral palsy probably couldn't play that role. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of, so let's, you know, but unfortunately, that's the world we're in. And, you know, somebody said to me the other day, with all this stuff, it has to go so far one way for it to then come back to normality. But, yeah, again, you know, I'm all for it, but I think the best person has to be given the job.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It doesn't matter what ethnicity they are, what religion they are, what colour, it doesn't matter, right? It really doesn't matter. It's like, who is the best person for this job? And give them the job. And then, you know, people, but I think what was happening was people would then look at that and say, well, you're giving that person, you know, they've been to a better school than me, or, you know, they're luckier than me. I haven't had the opportunities they've had. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's a little bit of that going on as well. So then people feel that if they do that, it's fair. But for me, life isn't fair.
No.
So, you know, you can't go around saying, oh, it's like, you know, this bullshit is creeped into schools. You know, I was at my son's school and they were doing a race, and the teacher said, you know, run the best you can. It's not about winning, it's about taking part. And I said to my son, that's absolute bollocks. Fucking win, right? You don't get any fucking prizes for coming second or last in life, right? So aim to win. If you don't win, it doesn't matter. But do not just go, I'm taking part. And that seems to be the message, you know. And I don't like that message because I'm a sort of go-getter, and I want people to do well, and I want people from ethnic minorities, or I want people from the working class, people that complain about not having opportunities. I want them to have the opportunities, and I want to encourage them to fucking go and do it, right? So for me, I'm like, you know, we can all do this. Do you know what I mean? We're all able to fucking achieve this, right? But using that thing, saying, oh, you know, it's not fair, or it's just taking part, and, you know, let's tick the boxes, that to me it makes a mockery of life. And I'm sure that, you know, if you look at China, if you look at the Middle East, if you look at Russia, if you look at those three places, which are all powerful places, and they look at what's going on in the West, I'm sure they probably find it amusing, you know, that we're actually happy to be mediocre and tick boxes and follow this stuff, you know, and not. It's like we're breeding our children to not want to achieve, just to take part, and that I don't get that.
You take part to win. And if you don't win, it doesn't matter. If you lose, losing is not a problem. But how you enter that race, that's the most important part. You've got to play to win.
Like, my son was swimming, right, for the school, right? And he was always coming like first, second or third. And then he started coming fourth and fifth, right? And I was standing on the side and I was talking to these other parents, and I said, your son's swimming really well. Do you know what I mean? I said, you must be really proud of him. Yeah, well, you know, he's got a personal trainer twice a week. We get up at 6 a.m, take him swimming. And on the weekends, he does his outdoor swimming in these canals and all that. And I'm like, oh, does he want to be a professional swimmer? No, it's just so he can win. And I was like, okay. And I said, that to me is just fucking retarded. I said, do you not want your son to actually have a life and enjoy themselves? Like, no, it's all about winning. It's all about winning. And I said to my son, I said, look, I said, these people are so insistent on winning. Their kids don't want to be professional swimmers. They just want them to win. This is what they're putting in. If you want to beat them, that's what you got to put in. Do you want to beat them? He said, Dad, I don't give a fuck. He said, I do it because I enjoy it. I don't care. I'm not going to be a professional swimmer. Right. And I just thought, well, actually, you know, he's had the choice. If he wants to beat them, that's the model, right? But he was like, why waking him up at 6 a.m, going, we're going swimming now, so you can win the race. It's not like he gets anything. He said, I don't get paid, do I? I just thought, I can't argue with that.
No. It's all about chasing your dreams and going back to your acting. Was becoming an actor one of your childhood dreams?
No, I mean, I like movies, and I liked, you know, I never thought, if you'd have said to me when I was a kid, you know, you're gonna be an actor, I would never have.
Not in your wildest dreams.
I would have gone. I mean, you know, I didn't join the drama group because everyone got ridiculed, and you know, because I was actually thinking of going into the drama at school. People go, "You don't do that. It's only gays that do that," and I was a bit like, "Really?" And because you're at school, you know, you don't want people are terrorising you already, so you don't want people to then start calling you gay because you're doing drama. Do you know what I mean? You're getting terrorised for not wearing the best clothes. You're getting terrorised because you live in a council flat and you ain't got any money. So if you didn't do that, and then it's another thing they're going to just dig you out on. So that was the only thing that stopped me going into it, because I didn't want people to ridicule me any more than I was already being ridiculed. So, but I wish I'd have just gone, do you know what? Fuck you, I'm doing it. And I wish I'd have had a go, because I'd have probably enjoyed it so much. And then I would have, look, you never know, right? But that might have actually made me go into it sooner.
And how many films did you star in before you started producing them?
I think I just did Dave's Out Pay.
And then went straight into production?
I did 2 episodes of EastEnders. I did a episode of The Bill, and I did some theatre stuff.
Well, with no experience in film production, apart from the bit of acting that you've done, without the previous experience, how did you enter into that? How did you go about it?
It was a mad thing. You know, somebody said, you know, I'll put some money in. I said, I'll put some money in. I rang all my friends up and said, look, let's all put some money in. It'd be a laugh. We'll make a film. They thought I was mad. But again, you know, we got a script, we got a director, got some actors. But that was really like going to film school. So when you do something, you know, you can read books on filmmaking. You can go to film school and learn how to be a filmmaker. You know what I mean? But actually doing it, that was what I learned, you know, that we shouldn't have done this, we shouldn't have done that.
And what was the first film?
One Man and His Dog.
Can that be found still?
Yeah, but it is a dog film. It's you know, it's the first film I made. But what that did was that opened so many doors. That opened up the door to do Rolling with the Nines. That opened, which was BAFTA nominated and won Rain Dance. That led to Rise of the Footsoldier. So if I hadn't made that first film, all the things, you know, they talk about the butterfly effect, right? You know, he flaps his wings and then all this stuff starts happening. If I'd never made that movie, people wouldn't have gone, Terry's making movies now. People wouldn't have come to me and gone, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And that's what happened, you know. Dave said to me, do you want to be in this film? And everyone going, oh, you're great, you're amazing. Getting an agent, you're like, fucking hell. Then I got a partner, and I'm like, fucking hell, I'm going to be in Hollywood next year, right? But the thing is, then it's like, boom, no, you're not. This is what you got to do. Then it was like, we made that film, and I'm thinking, fuck me, if this film does like what Lock, Stock's done, we're going to make fucking millions, right? And then obviously didn't make any money. Yeah, it didn't make any money, lost money, right? But that got us on the treadmill, right? You know, somebody saw it and rang me and said, you should do British Boys in the Hood. And all of these characters that I used to work with, Kano, who's a massive star in Top Boy, you know, and he's really cracking on as an actor. He made his movie debut in Rolling with the Nines. Dizzy Rascal, movie debut in Rolling with the Nines. Estelle, movie debut in Rolling with the Nines. You know, so all of these friends of mine, you know, from back in the day, were all like, let's do it. You know what I mean? And if I'd never done that first film, none of it would have happened. So if David never said to me, come in that movie, I'd never have gone into acting. If I hadn't made that first film that wasn't a success, I would never have got Rolling with the Nines. I'd never have had Carlton saying to me, do you want to fucking turn my book into a... Do you know what I mean? So
Rise of the Footsoldier, that all come about because Carlton Leach approached you.
Yeah, he was doing a door on a restaurant in Ascot, on Ascot Week, funny enough. And me and my wife was walking down, because there's a little Italian there that used to do this amazing pastas dishes. And we always used to, after the races, go, oh, let's go and get a bowl of pasta and have a glass of wine. So he was on the door and he was like, oh, you're doing films now, blah, blah, blah. You should make my book into a film. And I looked at the book and I was like, who's going to want to watch, you know, a film about a doorman? But I'd sort of said, all right, well, I'll read it. And they say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. And when I read the book, I was like, wow, you know, I didn't know he was involved in the ICF. I didn't know. I mean, obviously he makes it sound like he fucking invented it, right? But he was involved in it, but he wasn't one of the founders of it. But in the book, obviously there was that foot hooligan part. there was the Essex Boys part, there was the Nigel Benn part. And I thought, wow, you know, it's sort of felt like Football Factory meets Goodfellas, you know. So I thought it's actually a cool. And I spoke to the guys who did Rolling with the Nine and said, look, I've got this book. What do you think? And they said, oh, we love the book, love the story. And we all had the same view. Essex Boys, the film, was actually shit, right? It was like, you didn't really have the real names of Tony, Pat and Craig. You know, the only thing I think that was in line with what actually happened was they got killed in a Range Rover. But, you know, you got Sean Bean playing a Northerner. Tony Tucker was obviously from Essex. So it was so far removed from what it could have been. And that's really what made me want to make this film, because I thought nobody's actually done an actual Essex Boys movie properly. And that was what I wanted to do with these guys. And they're both a couple of Hooray Henrys, Julian and William Gilby. So if you'd met them, you'd say there's no way that they wrote and directed Rolling with the Nines, because it was basically a black gangster film set in the hood. It was British boys in the hood. So you see these two like Hooray Henrys walking and going, oh, hello, hello. And you're like going, they just made that film. And then they made Rise of the Footsoldier. You know, they Julian directed it, and William, his brother, done the second unit, which is sort of like the pickup shots and a lot of fight stuff. But as two brothers, they created two amazing films. That if you actually met them in the street, you'd be like, they directed those films, they created those films. You'd be like, no fucking way. He wrote that script. You just wouldn't believe it. They wrote, they then met with Carlton. He then talked to him a little bit about his life, and then they went off and wrote it, got a script, got a few drafts of the script, started putting the actors together. But again, it still took 2 years of knocking on doors before it got made, you know. So when you look at these things, that don't happen quickly.
Craig Fairbrass, he was in the first one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Good to work with?
Yeah, and the mad thing is, right, when we put him in it, we were going around talking to people, going, oh, look, we got Roland Manukian, who played Craig Rolfe. We got, you know, Craig Fairbrass to play Pat Tate and me to play Tony Tucker. And people would say, there's nobody in it. But the guy from you got Dan from EastEnders and you got the geezer from the Football Factory. There's no movie stars in it, right? And that was like, everyone we went to was the same thing. And then we eventually got connected with this company called Carnaby Films in Essex, and they were like West Ham fans. So they loved the idea of doing a sort of West Ham type, Essex Boys type film. And Mike Loveday, who was, I think he was like 70 or 72, but he was literally like, I'll write, how much have you raised? And I said, I've got that. And he said, well, I'll write the check out for the balance. And I did think, people don't do this.
Mm.
And I left the meeting thinking, this is bullshit. Right? We signed the contract, so I'm still thinking, this is bullshit. And then I get the date. We're doing this film on these dates. And even when I walked on a film set, I'm still thinking, in a minute, they're all going, not really. It's all a fucking joke. But it actually happened. And obviously, at the time, we didn't know, obviously, how popular that film was going to be. And, you know, everybody knows it. I mean, there's been 6 films now on a computer game. So nobody could have envisaged that would have happened.
No, I did.
If I could have envisaged it would have happened, I'd have not sold the rights.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, because they said, if we're going to put all this money in,
right,
we need the rights. And I was like, bear in mind, it's my 3rd film. It's a massive budget. And I'm just thinking, fuck me, I can have my name on a massive budget film and I can play the second lead in a movie. Fucking hell, you know, I have the rights.
Yeah.
Because, but I think if I'd have had my time again now, I wouldn't have done that. But again, hindsight's a wonderful thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. Who would have known that it was going to be as massive as it is?
The problem with film, especially independent film, is nobody knows what's going to happen, right? So when you make an independent film, it's like having a start-up business. You go, we've got this idea, we'll make it, we'll see what happens. And, you know, sometimes, you know, it works, sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, you don't have that A-list talent. You don't have, you know, Paramount standing behind you with £200 million checkbook. So when you're making these small films, you know, they're essentially startups. And one of the things that I'm doing now is I've partnered up with a company called Crypto.com, and we're exploring ways of monetizing films before they're made. So we're literally putting something together right now with a UK rap film that I developed some time ago, which is now ready to go. And that's going to be something that we're going to be doing and announcing very soon. So you've got a second exclusive here today, Liam.
Go into more detail about that.
Well,
because cryptos, everyone's into it. At the moment, we're in the middle of a bull run, aren't we? Or Bitcoin's certainly spiking again. So there'll be more people in tune with crypto at the moment.
Yeah. So we're putting together something really interesting on, with the actors in the film. We're going to basically be digitalising them, and then we're going to give certain parts of Money Can't Buy experiences, limited edition merchandise. So once you've bought into the digital asset, you get access to our private members club, you get access to the artist, you get limited edition things that you can't buy, you get entered into a weekly raffle where you can win premiere tickets, limited edition merchandise. So what we're going to do is build a community around this film, which nobody's done. Lots of people have made a film and then gone, let's digitalise the assets, but we're actually putting it all together now so that when we make the film, we actually have it all running in tandem. So no one's ever done it before. We was going to do this on the stock market, but obviously lots of people that I know that are in that space have all said the stock market at the moment is a fucked up place. And obviously this is a pre-revenue company. So although 10 years ago or 5 years ago, you could have gone to the stock market with a good idea and people would have just thrown money at you, people can leave their money in the bank and get 5%. So why would they want to pump money on the stock market on something? Do you know what I mean? And there's all the red tape, all the regulations, so we're doing it privately. But that's something that I've been working on since January. And I think probably early April will be when we actually start announcing what we're doing and sharing it properly with the world. I mean, I've just given you a little taste.
Little teaser taste. Yeah, I look forward to that. And I mean, in everything you do, I sincerely hope you absolutely smash it. And thanks. You do tend to do well with everything that you put your hand to. So I've got every faith. Before we move on to the final section of this interview, which will be discussing your new podcast, just a couple more bits with the film production side of Terry Stone. And I suppose the acting as well. I mean, everybody knows you as Tony Tucker. And I always wondered, because I knew that the film was loosely based around Carlton Leach's life.
The first one was.
Yeah. How come he never got a part?
No, he was in the gym scene. So he was in the gym scene. He pops up in the gym scene in the first one, pumping some weights.
So he was in there as an extra?
Basically, yeah. And Ricky Harnett played him in the first one. And then obviously he went off and did a film called Reign of the General, which was basically Rise as Footsoldier 2, which was a bit silly because he'd already signed his life rights to Carnaby Films. And obviously, you can't, it's like I can't sell my rights to somebody and then go off and make a film about myself. So that's basically what happened. And I think they had a big fallout, and I think he, they might blame me for it in some way, but it's nothing to do with me. So, and he spent the last, fucking 12 years going on about, why 60-year-old men playing 38-year-old men, and he just seems to spend his life just going on about it. And it's just like, mate, if you actually just did, embrace it. You know what I mean? What you should have done is gone to the Carnaby guys, look, sorry about that, let's shake hands, let's make up, let's do some more business together. He could have still been benefiting from the success, because every time Rise of Footsoldier comes out, you have a load of people saying, oh no, not another one, how many more of these, blah, 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 what has Carlton, what about the families and all this shit. And then on the other side, you've got people that go, I fucking love it. So if I'd have been him, I'd have gone, well, actually, if I actually just embrace this, for what it is, I can still benefit from it. And that would have been a sensible outcome. And there isn't really, the beef is from him, it's not from me, right? And,
What does he think you're responsible for doing then?
Well, I don't know. But the thing is, he's gone off on this whole rhetoric about, what about the families? It's disrespectful for the families. You're disrespecting my dead mate. But the thing is, when he did the first one, that was all absolutely fine. He didn't say he wanted to give any money to the families. But, I'd like to find out how much money, out of the money he's had out of it, he's given to the families. Because he keeps going on about, what about the families? But, you know, genuinely, if I was doing something and I was worried about someone's family or I wanted to provide for somebody's family, at the beginning of the conversation, I would have said, look, guys, you know, we're making a film about these people. These are the surviving family members. We need to look after them. We need to give them some money. We need to give them a share. We need to do something for them. You know what I mean? That's what should have happened, but it didn't. So I think all of this stuff has just come out just to basically make people go, yeah, you know, what about the families? And, you know, it's disrespectful. So it's sort of like he's encouraging people to, you know, join his sort of, you know, campaign. But to be honest, you know, there is no campaign. You know, it's just stupid. I mean, he's a 64-year-old man. Why does he care? Do you know what I mean? It's just stupid. It was his book, it's his story that did the first one, right? And, you know, all of the family. So, you know, he can talk about the other ones that he weren't involved in. But that first one, Tony Tucker, Pat Tate, Craig Rolfe, Mickey Steele, Jack Holmes. So if he was genuinely concerned about the families that were being portrayed in that film based on his book, he should have said something then. No good. It's like the horse has bolted and you start going, oh, well, the horse is gone. Well, we know the fucking horse is gone. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, why don't you say it before you open the fucking door? Do you know what I mean? It's just stupid.
Would you invite Carl Leach onto your podcast just to have a chat about it?
Well, I offered him, I said, I'll wear the wig and you wear a mankini. But he politely declined. I don't know why. But but to be honest, there's nothing to settle with him. There's nothing to say to him. You know, if he wants to keep up this bullshit, that's fucking up to him. Do you know what I mean? But there is no merit to what he says. And it's just stupid. Do you know what I mean? It's just absolute stupid. Maybe he's done it to create this illusion of this beef and these problems and that, you know, somehow Canby Films are, you know, diddling the families out of money because they didn't give them any money. But as I said, he never said, let's sort out the families. Look, if he was that concerned about it, he should have said something at the time and the provisions would have been made. In the budget, they'd have gone, look, let's give Pat Tate's family $5,000. Let's give Tony Tucker's family $5,000. Let's give Craig Rolfe. If that's what he'd wanted, that would have been built in the budget. They'd have had some money and they'd have been invited. But the problem is with the families, when you involve families in something like this, they're going to say, well, that's not how my dad was. That's not how my mum was. You know, my dad didn't do that stuff. So you're always going to, you know, no. I don't think any family anywhere would want to, you know, basically to face up to the facts that, you know, their dad, who they idolise, done some bad shit. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of get why they would never accept, you know, the way that their, you know, family members are portrayed in the film. But again, if Cunt was that worried about it, he should have said at the time, and there would have been provisions made. The family might have turned and said, we don't want the money, give it to fucking Great Ormond Street, which would have been absolutely fine. But nobody mentioned it until, you know, years later.
And would you invite him on your podcast just as a guest to give his life story?
I'll be honest with you, I think the ship sailed now, mate. I think...
he's quite an interesting character, isn't he?
I mean, I don't know. I mean...
there's a lot of interest around him.
I mean, I as I said, I liked his book. And I liked him, you know, when we did the Rise of the Footsoldier, and I thought he was a mate. But I just thought the way he sort of gone off and done that other film, it was like it was bad. You know, you don't really do that to somebody. You know, I you know, I don't know what would I say to him. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure people would enjoy watching it. But
it's kind of what.
But again,
I'm getting at.
Again, you know, you know, he did a like stupid thing on New Year's Day on Twitter, which basically went, Terry Stone's auditioning for people on his podcast that don't like me or that want to slag me off, right? And you sort of think, yeah, there's only been one person really on the podcast that said anything negative about him, and that's Bernie. But they fucking hate each other, you know. So. You know, not everybody will like Carlton, not everybody's like Bernie. So what? Do you know what I mean? But he seems to have this thing that my podcast is all about him. You know, I don't give a fuck about him. It's nothing, you know, we don't need him to, you know, get views If people mention him, obviously we're going to mention him. You know, we're not going to cut it out the podcast because I mean, you know, Yami B was on the other day, and he was positive about Carlton. Marvin Herbert wasn't positive about Carlton. Bernie wasn't, but you know, for everybody who's positive, somebody's negative. But you know, I think when you're doing a podcast, you know, you got to let people have their say. But again, you know, I invited him on, and he politely declined. So, you know, I don't think I'm going to waste my time or energy or breath on inviting him on again, because if he did come on again, what's the value? There's people that don't like Carlton, they're like me, and there's people that, you know, so it's a vice versa thing. So if he comes on, he's going to have all these people saying, "Why have you done that? What, you know, what about the families? What about all this stuff?" And then there'll be all my lot going, "Why you got that fucking, you know, he's just been cutting off for fucking 6 years. Why you got him on?" So initially I just thought, this is stupid shit. Come on a podcast and made a joke of it about, I wear the wig and you wear the mankini. But it's now got to the point where, you know, the jokes are over now, and there's not really anything left to say. And if he wants to just keep carrying on social media saying whatever he wants to say, that's up to him. But I don't invite anybody on my podcast to say anything bad about anybody. But if they want to talk about him, or if they want to say him off, or if they want to say he's fucking great, I'm not going to cut it out. So as you see with the Yami B thing, if I was anti-Carlton, I'd have just gone, we're not having that in because it's pro-Carlton. So I'm not pro or against Carlton. You know, as I said, I thought he was a great guy when I met him. If I didn't like him, I wouldn't have done the book. I wouldn't have made the film. Do you know what I mean? But he's never really been treated me very well. He's never even said thanks for what I've done in getting that film off. You know, I spent 2.5 years trying to get it made. So, you know, but he's forgotten all that.
Now, let's get to podcasts. From the start,
I'm not getting Carlton. I know you keep going. I'm joking.
Carlton's gone. Carlton got the invite.
He's dead to me.
He declined. Right. He's dead to you. What about Craig Fairbrass? Will you get him on?
I think so. I mean, you know,
I think a lot of people want to see that, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, look, I did speak to him about being on it, but it's when we started. I said, "Oh, do you want to come on?" And he said, "I only do established podcasts." So I was like, "Mate, it's me. Right? It will be established." But you know. And I had a little bit of a joke with him, right? Because I went on to, he did a podcast and there was something like 870 views. So I sent him a message saying, "What, like this?" And he was like, "Fuck off." But no, I think he'd be a good guest. But again, you know, if you don't want to come on, you know, it doesn't make any difference to me, right? But you know, we've had some great guests from the Footsoldier franchise on. We've got some more great guests from the Footsoldier coming on. They've also been in loads of great gangster films. You know, I mean, you know, Jamie Foreman, obviously he's a great fucking name. You know, there's Anthony Scordy, who played Carlo Gambino in The Offer, Paramount. He was in The Last Footsoldier. You know, there's Eddie Webber. There's loads of these great actors that have been in these films that have not just been in Footsoldier, they've been in fucking, you know, The Business, they've been in Football Factory, they've been in The Firm, that, you know, so Lock, Stock, Snatch. So, you know, when you actually look across the board, it's not just about Footsoldier actors, it's just that some of the guys that have been in Footsoldier have been in loads of other great gangster films. But I think the best one we've done was me and Roland. And I think if me and Craig did one, it would be really good. But again, you know, it's up to him. If he wants to come on, he can come on. If you don't want to come on, that's fine.
Obviously, Dave Courtney's recently passed away, and I'm sure he would have been a guest on your podcast.
But you know something? It was like fucking mad because I see him at I don't know, it was a premiere, it was an event, and I thought, actually, I should actually interview him because we could have a laugh about the Scene magazine and talk about the Rave Days and all that sort of stuff. And then literally the day that I was going to, on the Monday, I was going to phone him. On the Sunday night, I got a message saying, "What about Dave?" And I was like, "What about him?" And he said, "He's been shot." And I was like, "He's been shot?" "I know, he's been shot. He's either killed himself or someone shot him." And I was like, fucking hell. I was shocked. I was actually shocked when I heard it. I was shocked. I was thinking, fucking hell.
Yeah, that takes some doing. But ended on more of a few chirpier notes. So some of the guests that you've had on your show so far, has there been guests that you've had that you had a preconception about them and then they you felt completely different after you actually got to know the person? Because you've had contract killers on, people that have spent many, many years behind the door, political activists that some love, some hate. Like, is there someone that you thought, I'm interested in hearing their story, and then once you heard it without the media bias, you thought, they're actually quite a good person?
Do you know something? I think all the people that I've had on, that I've talked to, I don't think any of them have disappointed. And I actually think that what I've tried to do with all the guests is have a laugh with them. So even if they are contract killers, gangsters, whatever they're perceived to be or whatever they are in real life, I always just want to be like two mates having a chat, having a laugh. And some people, sort of said, I don't, why are you laughing along with them and why are you doing this and why are you doing that? But, when you have a conversation with somebody, you do have a laugh with them. And I think one of my coping mechanisms is to laugh at adversity and to laugh at if someone say to me, oh yeah, I chopped someone's head off and, chopped their arms off and chopped their legs off, I might laugh at that. And then people go, what are you laughing at? It's nothing funny about that. But it's like a coping mechanism because it's so fucked up, so shocking. I tend to laugh at fucked up shit because I think it's my brain saying that this is really bad. Laugh. Otherwise you're going to go into some fucking dark place. But I think, I don't think it's the guests, but I think what I find funny is when people go in the comments or message you and say, oh, I'm unsubscribing because of this, that and the other, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, or I don't like this guest, or why have you got this person on? And I always feel like saying to them, you're not paying for this, mate, right? You're getting this for free, right? If you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. Move on. Don't leave a silly fucking comment because, they're not paying for it in the first place. But, if you have, it's like, what sort of criminal would you like on the show? Well, not that criminal. Well, which one do you want? Do you want the murderer? Do you want the fucking thief? Do you want a burglar? Do you want an armed robber? If you give me a list of what you like, I'll try and get you personally private. I'll film it just for you. And I'll send it just for you so you can just watch what you want to watch. But everyone else can go fuck themselves. So I think when you're doing a podcast, especially the Criminal Connection, which is my one, my remit has always been, as long as someone's got a criminal connection, whether they've played a gangster, whether they are a gangster, whether they've been affected by crime, they can come on a podcast. So, there are going to be people that people don't like. There are going to be people that people say, oh, why have you got him on? Or why is she on? Or why, I don't like this guest. He's killed people, but sort of like, well, that's why it's called the Criminal Connection.
There's two guests that you've had on that I'm most intrigued about how you felt about their genuine personality.
Right.
Bernard O'Mahony and Tommy Robinson.
Well, to be honest, I don't tend to look at what people write about people in the press or on social media because I think that there's always two sides to every story, and there's an old saying: "Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story." Right? And I met Bernie in 2008 or 2009. We followed each other on social media. It might have been MySpace or it might be, but I'm talking about fucking years ago. Maybe it was Facebook, right? And I remember reading his book, Bonded by Blood, which was obviously about his boys. And messaged him and I said, oh, what are you doing with your book? And he said, I've got the film rights available. I said, I'd like to make a film about it. And he went, all right, fine. So I sent him a contract. He signed it. I gave him some money, come on the set. He was fucking so helpful, really helpful. And I've always thought, he's an all right guy. So never had any problems with him. And then obviously, that film come out and people was going, oh, Bernie's making money out of, the Dead and the Essex Boys and, he's a grass and all this shit, right? So he said, you've got these child murderers in jail and they're not going guilty. They're going to go not guilty because they want to try and get out. He goes, I want to make sure they fucking stay in jail. So he said, I'm writing to him as a woman or as a, whatever, saying, oh, paddling them up and getting them to basically fucking incriminate themselves. So keep them in fucking jail. Some people will say that's grassing. to me, he's doing a service to fucking the community. And I've got no problem with him doing that. And he spoke openly about it. He spoke openly about lots of things. And what I find with Bernard is he speaks from truth, right? Again, recollections may vary. And some of the things that he says, maybe, you know, they didn't happen exactly the way he said it, but he's so convincing. And when you talk to somebody, if they're lying, you can normally pick up there's something off about what they're saying. With him, I didn't really pick that up. So, you know, as I said, some of the stuff may be slightly, you know, exaggerated. But I know, you know, a lot of the stuff that he was talking about can be backed up with facts. You know, I don't, it's very difficult for me to say anything bad about him, really, because he's always been absolutely fine with me. He's always supported me. When we did Rise of Footsoldier Origins, they said, oh, Bernie's going to be a character in the film. Vinnie Jones is going to play him. Bernie was on set. He was even in the movie as an extra. He brought his son down. And again, he's always been really, really respectful, really fun, just decent. Do you know what I mean? So it's very difficult for me to say anything bad about him because he's never done anything wrong to me.
Which is fair enough. And I thought that he was brilliant on your podcast. I thought he was an excellent communicator. I mean, he can tell a hell of a story. Yeah. So, Tommy Robinson, you've interviewed him.
Yeah. What's
your opinion on him?
Well, do you know what's funny? I've always sort of watched him, and I remember seeing the Oxford University address that he did when he actually said a load of things, and I think something like 3.5 million or 4 million people. It was a lot of people watched that, and I've always thought, again, like Bernard and like a lot of these people, Tommy's a Marmite character, but I think having spoken to him and having listened to the reasons why he's done what he's done, you know, I kind of don't think there's anybody else that would actually make the sacrifices that he's made. And to put that into context, you know, I think I said to him, you know, you probably upset every single person you could possibly upset. You know, how'd you sleep at night? You know, because you must like be constantly waiting for someone to jump out the bushes and fucking stick something in you or fucking attack you or burn your house down or whatever. And he said to me, he said, look, we see what was happening in Luton. And he said, you know, he said, as I'm seeing all this stuff happening in Luton, we started getting worried about what was happening. And he said, when we started to actually go to the authorities and say this isn't great, you know what I mean? You need to do something about this. And I think two of the guys that he was focusing on are both in jail now for organising like terrorist organisations, right? What he was really doing was highlighting what the issues were. And same with the stuff that happened up north with these grooming gangs. You know, he got a lot of stick for that as well. And he said, you know, he said, look, he said, these people were going to the authorities. These people were talking to, you know, voicing their concerns, and nobody was listening because I think people are, again, going back to the world we live in now, everybody's upset about saying the wrong thing because somebody's going to get offended, somebody's going to get upset. And it seems that everybody now is racist. So if you say anything that is about anything, you know, you're either far right or racist. And I think that was one of the things. And again, you know, now a lot of these people that were doing this stuff up north are being arrested and going to jail. You're sort of going, well, there's a theme here, right? So this guy's highlighting the issues in Luton. These guys have been arrested and put in jail because they're running these terror organisations. And then there's grooming gangs operating in the north that he's also mentioning, and people are just going, you know, but now they've nicked him and put him in jail. So it's like, well, he did tell you about this years ago, and he has told you. So for me, I mean, look, I think from my personal perspective, and I actually said to him, I said, you know, you've actually sacrificed your life, really, right? Because you've got all this bad publicity, you've got all this negative press, you've got a perception that if you someone mentions your name, that they go, he is the far right, you know, hates anybody unless they're white, basically. And I think because of that, you know, I think if you was going to be critical of him, you would say, maybe he's gone about things the wrong way in that because he's very animated and very passionate, right? You know, he's putting his point across, but he comes across like a working class kid of a council estate football hooligan, and then people go, oh no, he's not really doing this. It's because he doesn't like them because they're a different colour or they're different religion to him. So I think it's very easy for people to point that stick at him. And
the irony is, 80% of Tommy's friends are all of a different colour and a different religion.
But they don't ever mention that. But unfortunately, again, a little bit like Russell Brand, right? We were talking about Russell Brand earlier, right? If you go, and if you think about it, when you go out into the public domain, and Tommy had a massive, and he still has got a massive social media outreach, and people still follow what he does. If you poke your head up and say, this is what's going on, and you either shame or embarrass the establishment, the powers that be, law enforcement, whatever, you kind of make yourself a target. And I think that's the same with Russell Brand. You know, he said himself he was a drug addict and he was a sex addict, right? So, you know, he's admitted that, right? He pranked that girl and fucking upset her, didn't he, with Jonathan Ross? There was a big uproar about that. When he was doing it back then, it was all a fucking joke and it was funny and he's one of the lads. But now, you know, if you do any of that stuff now, it's not funny. It's, you know, since that Me Too stuff, if you behave badly as a man, even if you say something inappropriate, like, oh, you've got a nice ass, or you say, oh, I like your legs, or you got nice shoes, you're being a fucking sex offender, right? So obviously back then, obviously, you know, you could sleep with 3 or 4 girls one night and be out your head on a load of drugs and drink and you'd be one of the boys, but you do that now and you're like a fucking sexual predator, you know, you're like a serial rapist. And obviously, unfortunately for you know, it's the same with comedians. If you're a comedian and you're telling jokes, look at Little Britain. They were like dressing up as women. They were dressing up, doing the blackface. They're doing all this stuff. And like back then, everyone's like laughing about it. It's all funny, but now it's not funny. So it's sort of like, well, you know, they got a good chance they're going to get cancelled because it's something they've done 15, 20 years ago. So the world has gone slightly mad. But, you know, I like Russell Brand. I think he's great, right? But, you know, for him to do what he did, I think it was verging on, you know, it was literally like poking the bear and sort of, you know, if you've got no skeletons in the cupboard, you can poke the bear. But if you've got any skeletons, you know, they are going to come out.
So if you had, who would be your top 3 guests to come on your show?
I think I'd like Tom Hardy, because obviously he's played the Craze and he's played Bronson. So he's played some iconic criminals. Ray Winston. I mean, could they be dead or alive?
Yeah, go on, dead or alive, yeah.
John Gotti, he'd be a good one. Also, lots of people don't always want to, you know, be in front of the camera or be in the media. You know, some people just like being in the, you know, under the radar.
Some people like to be in the shadows committing crime.
Well, no, it's like Ray Winston, you know. When you see him sort of popping up on, you don't really see him, or Tom Hardy, you don't really see a lot of them.
He was on Jonathan Ross the other night.
But that's what
Ray
I mean.
Winston's
but
brilliant.
that's what I'm saying. It's the top
tier.
It's the top tier stuff. So for him to pop up on a podcast, you've either got to know him, or he's got to want to do it, or he's got to like you. So,
and where can people watching this find your social media accounts and your podcasts?
So I'm just Terry Stone Official on Instagram, Terry Stone on Facebook and on LinkedIn, all the other stuff. And then on the podcast, obviously it's on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. So it normally goes out on a Friday at 4, the audio, and then 4 on a Sunday for the YouTube premiere. On the final note, so is there anything that you'd like to say to anyone watching or listening before we wrap it up? Any films you're doing? Well, as I said, we're putting together this UK rap film called Tales from the Trap. That's what we're pulling together at the moment. So, yeah, that's going to be the one that we're digitalising with Crypto.com. So that's going to be really interesting. We've got some other films. We've got King of Crime, which is about John Palmer. We've got a film about Shah Varan, which is a big film. So we're having talks with people about those. So yeah, we've got 3 big films that we're working on. Obviously, we've got the podcast. We've got some TV projects we've developed. We've got some animation projects that we're pitching out. So we've always got loads and loads of stuff on. But with you know, the media business last year, obviously, in 6 months of strikes. So nothing happened last year. And everyone thought in January everything was going to just burst into flames and everything was going to go through the roof again. And I think what's happened is it's starting, but it's started off slowly. But hopefully, over the next sort of few months that changes and we can get back to some sort of normality, whatever that means.
Yeah, get back to madness.
Yeah.
Tell.
No, good to see you, mate.
Good chat, mate. And you can follow Terry's podcast on YouTube.
You can, baby.
The Criminal Connection podcast. And if you've made it this far and you've watched this entire interview and you haven't yet liked and subscribed to this channel, which is The Dozen with Liam Tufts, please do so. It costs you absolutely zero. It takes 2 seconds and it helps us build a bigger, better production. The guests have a better experience and so do you. Good health and thanks again, brother.
No, thank you.